and eventually I stand up for a moment and I lose all my vision. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for 100 subscribers. I'm so excited to be saying that. I can't believe that we're at 100 subscribers actually. And today's story I'm going to be sharing with you guys, I think this is one that I've been holding off for a while, but I finally feel ready to tell it. And this was a moment in my life that I really thought was just out of a movie, and not in a good way. So I'm sure all of you guys have heard of the medicine called Tylenol. And if you don't know what Tylenol is, you might have heard of it as Panadol or another term. Basically, the common drug between all these medicines is paracetamol. And paracetamol is a common over-the-counter pain medication that you can take for period cramps, headaches, stomach aches, fevers, all across the board. It's very commonly used. And almost all the time, if you feel kind of bad, people go, oh, do you want to take a Tylenol? And my entire life, for 17 years, I took this medication all the time. And I never had a single issue. For 17 years straight, I had taken this medication. And on this particular day, I was just feeling kind of off. I was feeling kind of under the weather. And my last class of that day, I had a really bad stomach ache. So I reached into my pencil case and I took 2 of the paracetamol tablets. And on this particular day, every single week, I would walk 2 kilometers after class to go to my tutoring session at a local library. This is because I didn't have anyone to drive me there, I couldn't take the bus, and I didn't have my license yet, so I just had to walk there. And it wasn't the end of the world, it was not a terrible walk, but it definitely left me kind of out of breath and puffed by the time I got there usually. And the thing you need to know about me is that I had a really big crush on my tutor at the time, okay? Without going into too many details, he was just a really good dude, and he was kind of the perfect son, if that makes sense. Like when you think of someone who has like a kid and they're like, oh, this is what I want my kids to grow up like, that was him. He was like the perfect model kid. So I had a huge crush on him, and that's what made this experience so much worse. Now, at the beginning of our tutoring session, we were doing maths, and I'm not very good at maths, so every session I would go through my practice questions and he would just help me on the things I didn't understand. And on this particular day, we were going through matrices, which is one hell of a topic I don't want to do again. I fucking hated that shit. But anyways, while we were doing it, I started to just feel myself catching on fire, literally. It felt like my whole body was just lighting on fire. Now, I've never had an allergic reaction in my entire life, so I didn't know what this was, but I was assuming that whatever it was an allergic reaction. So I turned to him after about 10 minutes because I cannot take it anymore. Everything he's saying is going in one ear and just out the other for me. Nothing is sticking. I cannot focus. He was a med student, mind you. So honestly, he was the perfect person to have with me in this situation because he was literally studying how to help people in situations like this. So I turn to him and I say, hey, I think I'm having an allergic reaction. And you don't know how embarrassing this is because I felt like I was already sweating my brains out. I could just tell. Okay, I could just tell I looked musty, crusty. Here's the thing, I was in high school, I wasn't like the best looking person in the world, and I had like acne and all that shit, so I was just like, this is just not a good situation. I just looked terrible, I could just tell. So I look at him and I say, do I look sick to you? He looks at me up and down and says in the most politest way, not really, you look pretty normal to me. This guy could not have been kinder. But he didn't have to lie so hard. Oh my god. I pull up photo booth. The first thing I see when I look at myself in that photo booth camera was a dying corpse. I have never looked worse in my life, okay? My skin was so puffed out. My whole face was puffy as hell, but my skin was not even red. It was like pale, deathly pale, almost had a yellow tinge to it. And my under eyes already have pretty dark circles naturally, but it was like they had been intensified and I just looked so dead. I literally looked like I was dying. I've never looked worse in my life. Not only that, my bangs are like pasted to my forehead in sweat and my whole body just looks just disgusting. I have never in my life been so embarrassed in that moment because I was looking at him and he was trying to say you look fine and I was like, you do not need to lie to me. I know what I look like. I look like a mess. So of course this gets me kind of panicked and I stand up and I'm like, hang on a second. I turn away from him and I pull my shirt up because this was the important part. I was still in my school uniform. In Australia, we always wear school uniforms unless you go to like a special fancy school. So I was wearing layers of clothing. It was the middle of winter and the winter uniforms were naturally not very warm. So most of us students would put multiple layers of thermals and undergarments underneath our clothes. So I was wearing thermal pants and a top and then a button-up shirt, a sweater, and a coat on top of that, and pants. I was freaking boiling, okay? I was so hot. And so I take off the sweater, I take off the jacket, and I pull up my shirt to reveal my entire stomach is covered in hives. Top to bottom, covered. I am literally having an allergic reaction. I had never had one before, but I knew that's what this was. So obviously I start panicking and I tell him, we have to call my dad right now because he has to come get me because I can't be here anymore. Mind you, my parents lived about 30-40 minutes away, so it wasn't an easy drive and they were still both at work. So I was like, what the hell do I do? I look at my phone, she's flat. My phone is dead, which is great, you know? And then I'm like, maybe I can text him on my laptop. But then I'm like, well, no, because I'm in a public library. My laptop doesn't have any Wi-Fi and my phone is flat, so I can't hotspot it. And then he goes, don't worry, just call your dad on my phone. And I'm like, yeah, great idea. I don't know my dad's number. Oh my God. I still don't know my parents' number to this day. You think that this would have told me? It didn't. I still don't know it, but I didn't know it and I was looking at him and he just face palmed. He face palmed. He was like, what do we do? So then I staggered to the librarian and I asked her if she had a Samsung charger because yes, I have a Samsung and she doesn't have one. So she gives me this massive bin of wires and tells me to find one. And mind you, I look like I'm dying. I look terrible. She's watching this girl that looks crazy as hell. Literally, I had removed half of my clothing items at this point, just rummaging through this bin of wires like a maniac. Eventually I find a C cable and I'm like, thank the Lord. She probably thought it was a MacBook charger. She probably didn't know that you could charge a Samsung phone with that, but I grabbed that shit immediately and I staggered back to the only power point in the whole entire library. I plugged that shit in and it was taking me so long. It took about 10 minutes for my phone to even get to 2%. During that time, my skin and my body just kept getting worse. I was just more and more hot, more itchy. It was the worst feeling ever. And the thing was, I couldn't take off any more clothing than I already had off because I was in public and I was right in front of my crush. I had to tough it out. So I finally call my dad after about 10 minutes and we tell him that he needs to come now. And I also call my mom and tell her the same thing. And we decide to walk to a local pharmacy at this point, which was about like a 2-minute walk away from the library. And my tutor, he carries my bag and it's all very like, it would be really cute if it wasn't for the fact that I was fucking dying. Now, we walk into a pharmacy that is pretty much infamous in Australia for being one of the most overstimulating places to be in public. This is the infamous Chemist Warehouse. I can only purely describe it as the most hellish environment if you are in any type of anxiety-inducing situation or medical crisis, which doesn't make sense because it is a pharmacy, so you would assume that a lot of people that go there are in a medical crisis. However, the aisles of this shop are so skinny and tall, and every single item is labeled with a neon pink, orange, or yellow label. It is so overwhelming to walk into. Not only that, there is a worker in almost every aisle actively stocking the shelves and you can barely walk past them. There is usually some type of music blaring and there is signs literally littering every aisle telling you what's in what, but they're so crammed together and the lighting is always just blaring. It is just, I don't know how to explain to you how bad this place is. It is not good. If you are in any type of mood, do not go in Chemist Warehouse. Oh my God. Choose any other pharmacy. But of course, this was the only pharmacy in our direct vicinity, so we had to go in there. We walk in there and he immediately is like, attention, attention, I need help. She needs medication for an allergy. And I was like, oh, so gentlemanly. But you know, again, can't really appreciate the situation when I was dealing with what I was dealing with. Eventually, we sit down on one of their plastic chairs in the middle of the pharmacy while there is people racing around, and it is so embarrassing. But he tells me that he doesn't really think I need to go to the ER and that if I take this medication, which was an antihistamine, I would probably just calm down after an hour or two. What persists is 2 hours of just pure torture while my body physically gets wrapped in hives that are so big they kind of just morphed into one layer of like numb, burning, puffy skin. Everything starts to swell, my lips begin to swell. Eventually, I stand up for a moment and I lose all my vision. Immediately, everything's gone out of my body. All my vision, it just turns into static in front of my eyes and I can't see a thing. And so I sit down again and I'm like, that's not good. And the worst part of this whole thing is I look like a complete mess. I'm actively decaying away in real time. My crush is sitting next to me this whole time trying to calm me down by talking to me about our lives. And to be fair, I learned a lot about him during these 2 hours, but we just sat there and he was talking on and like, no hate, but I couldn't tell half of what he was saying. I was so out of it. Eventually, my mum gets there and we decide to go home. And as we're walking to my mum's car, I start losing my vision again And eventually I'm just walking with no clue where I'm going. I'm completely blind. I cannot see anything in front of me. I am walking with my eyes shut, basically. We get to the car and I literally almost pass out sitting down into the seat, and I whack my head on the side of the car. That's when my mum goes, maybe we shouldn't take you home, maybe we should take you to the ER. And we walk into the waiting room and I am wearing only my thermal leggings at this point and a button-up shirt that I have rolled all the way up to my shoulders. I look insane. They get me all situated, they give me some new medication that I didn't take before, and eventually the allergy goes away. However, they do note that my blood pressure dropped intensely and I also had swollen lips, which was a sign of anaphylaxis. So I was like, there's no way I am having anaphylaxis right now for some mystery ailment. Now, I didn't know what caused it for a long time. However, one of the only things that I knew I'd done that day that was different from a regular day was I had taken the paracetamol. So that's when my doctors told me not to take any more paracetamol. However, I tend to be quite stupid when it comes to these kind of issues. So only a month later, I was sitting in class and I had extremely bad period cramps. So I walked to the bathroom and took 2 more tablets from the exact same packet that I had taken the first time. I walk back into class and not even 10 minutes later, I start feeling the effects of an allergic reaction taking hold of me. I turn to my friend and I tell her, girl, I think I'm having an allergic reaction. She walks with me to my school's medical bay and I get picked up and taken home. And once again, I endure 3 hours of torture. Now, the third time it happened, I was at home and I already had a really bad cold. My dad tells me to take some Codrils, which are a form of cold medication. However, in these tablets is paracetamol, which he forgot to tell me and I didn't even look at the label. I take 2 of these, within an hour, I'm having another allergic reaction. This was when we finally confirmed that, yes, it is the paracetamol that does it to me, and it doesn't have to be from that one packet that I had originally, it can be any packet. So we go to a specialist, they do some more testings, and yes guys, I somehow managed to gain a new anaphylactic reaction to paracetamol, one of the most, if not the most common form of pain medication available. And now every single time someone tells me, oh, you feel sick? Do you need a paracetamol? Do you need a Panadol? Do you need a Tylenol? I have to look at them and say, I can't take that because I will keel over. Don't give me that, I will go blind. So guys, to this day, I have no idea how this happened. When I talked to the specialist, they said that they had really never seen any case like mine before. And on top of that, my case is extremely rare because most people that are allergic to paracetamol are also allergic to a whole range of medication in a similar group of medication. However, I'm only allergic to paracetamol, and I took this shit for 17 years before I ever had an issue with it. So I do not know what the problem is. But with all that being said, this was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Looking like that in front of my crush was so humiliating, and if it wasn't for the fact that I would have to show you my face, I would show you what I looked like because I looked diabolical. But just imagine literally a corpse. That's all you need to imagine. Thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. I'm still trying to debate what I'm gonna do to celebrate it, but I'm leaning towards some kind of live stream, so stay up to date guys. I will definitely post on my community when I've figured it out. So thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Extra fun fact, sorry for not uploading these videos sooner. The reason I couldn't was because I ended up getting sent to hospital again for a new allergy to a different medication. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. Woo!